So I'm Bobby Law from Glasgow Caledonian University, and Ian is here as well, I think, to wave.
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Oh, there's Ian as well. So Ian and I both work for Glasgow Caledonian University and also for the Open University in Scotland. So we're going to talk about how to encourage student participation in online tutorials. Just over the years, we've been doing this for the Open University in particular over a number of years. So we've picked up a number of things as we went along. So I suppose there's a lot of things that you need to think about when you're doing online tutorials, and the thing about them is that they're kind of just similar to what you do face to face. Okay, so a lot of the kind of things that you would look into for your teaching material apply here as well. Some of which probably applies much more than when you're doing face to face, because obviously with face to face you've got a lot of visual cues. You can kind of work out how your audience is going, and you can rejig your presentation as you go. So the kind of things that we've found out is stuff like problem-based learning is very good for using, as is active learning and social constructivism. Putting these things together for your students and I'll come to this in another slide, but making what's called breakout rooms and getting them to do activities where they work together is very good, because it also lets them talk obviously to their peers and engage with their peers, and you as a tutor can manoeuvre your way through these different breakout rooms, which we'll talk about in a minute or two. So that covers as well peer instruction. We also have the idea of learner or learning centred, where we give them tasks that they kind of discover themselves. And again, we tend to do that inside things like breakout rooms. Now, the other thing that we do with these things is we try and do short introduction with a few slides to sort of say what the process of the session is going to be, and then we try and break off from that into the tasks as quickly as possible. I don't know if MD is familiar with the Open University and how it works, but roughly speaking, with the Open University, they've got all the preset materials. They read the materials, and myself and Ian run basically the online tutorials as a way for them to kind of find out how much they've taken in. It's not a straightforward kind of lecture that's going on here. You know, you're not coming in here to talk to them about different aspects of programming or whatever. You're in there to try and get them to engage with you, with their peers, and to actually, if it's programming, code in some sort of way, shape or form, or do some problem solving algorithms, that kind of thing. Okay. So over the piece, we've come up with a lot of things. This is a very quick summary of what's in the paper and what's in previous papers that Ian and I have written. The one, if you're presenting here today, the one that's maybe obvious here is practice. Practice with your online tool and make sure that you're comfortable with it. Very, very important. As you can see from various interactions today, and you see how long it took me to find the share button for the umpteenth time. It's very important that you practice. The other thing is that you should also bear in mind is that not all the tools that we use are actually designed for education. So you need to think about the sort of pedagogical approach that we mentioned in the other slide, and what it is that you want to do, but can you achieve it in the tool that you're using, and then restructure what you want to do. So probably in a lot of occasions you'll need to rework your material. Lively and engaging slides is always helpful, but that's helpful anywhere, because probably some people are sitting and saying, well, some of this is what I would do normally. Yes, it is, but it's to remind you that that's what you should do here as well. There is no exception. You should still be doing the same sort of thing. Self-contained learning episodes, that's the kind of idea where we put them into breakout groups and give them a problem to solve. And then we'll all come back to the main room and go through each group's solution to that problem. Okay. Important to set times, again, as is coming through with the sessions today. It's important, time is important, but it's even more important when you're doing things like breakout rooms. If you give them too much time, they get bored. If you give them too little time, then they can't get a solution, which doesn't help either. So trying to find that optimum time can be difficult. Again, as we did this morning, arrive at your room early, check everything's working, check you're working, check everything's okay. The other one, which doesn't quite apply here today, but you sometimes get in some software systems that you're using, is the fact that you don't want to get distracted. Okay, and what I mean by that is that people will come and go to your session. So don't get caught up in people coming and going to your session, because that can distract you. Okay. Give students focal point. You can see I've got the wee red dot on here, and I'm trying to point to the areas in the slide that I'm currently at, and that helps people stay with you. Whiteboard, chatbot, notepad, use all of these tools if you can. Get the students to interact with you on a whiteboard, get them to write some things down. Chatbot, as we're doing today, get people to put questions in the chatbot. What would normally happen is that Ian and I would usually team teach, and we'd take turns at who is actually going to present that particular week. And the great thing about team teaching is, if you can do it and if you want to do it, is that you've got somebody to man the chat box. So either myself or Ian, whoever's turn it is to man the chat box, while somebody's delivering, we can answer questions as we go along. So just something to think about. Have a backup plan, always a good idea, and don't be afraid to improvise. Sometimes somebody might throw you a kind of question that's out there a wee bit, but don't be afraid to actually just answer it and go for it. Okay, but that's again up to yourself. Okay, for the students themselves, try, as you did this morning as chair, be very welcoming to everyone, say hello, greet them as they come along. Try and be as clear as possible. Again, comes up with the thing that you were saying before about, as I'm probably doing just now, speaking a wee bit too fast, and with my Scottish accent, I'm sure not everybody's catching every word, but again, we can do questions later. Interact with students on arrival. Light-hearted icebreakers are always good to just get everybody talking. Offer direction, ask questions, seek responses. Same sort of techniques you would do during the day in a face-to-face, but just doing them obviously in a slightly different situation. Okay.